Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're drowning in debt, I know you're probably sick to death of generic, vague advice. Today, we're throwing out the motivational fluff completely. We are looking at the cold, mathematical, actionable breakdown of the debt payoff order that actually works. Let's get right into it. You know the phrase, just pay off your debt. It is flatly the most useless piece of advice on the internet. Am I right? It's usually handed down by someone who has zero understanding of your daily reality. I mean, wow, cool, thanks. I never would have thought of that on my own. It completely invalidates the very real confusion and frustration that comes with managing multiple balances. Just knowing you have a problem, well, that's not an actual strategy for solving it. Because the real question, the one flashing in bright neon lights in your head, is how, though? Everybody knows debt is bad. That's not groundbreaking info. But what almost nobody breaks down clearly is exactly which debt you're supposed to attack first when you're staring at just a completely overwhelming table of bills. You've got a credit card over here, a student loan over there, a car payment sitting in the driveway, and they all want your money. Attacking the wrong one first, that can genuinely cost you thousands of extra dollars. Okay, let's dive into this, because before we solve the order, we gotta understand the trap you're currently sitting in. The minimum payment trap. If you're only paying the minimums on high-interest credit cards, you are walking into a financial buzzsaw. Paying only what the credit card company asks for each month means it will literally take you decades to clear the balance. Decades. You're gonna end up paying multiples of your original balance entirely in interest. See, it's designed to keep you on the hook forever. We have to break that cycle. And to do that, you need a highly targeted attack plan. There are basically two commonly discussed approaches to breaking out of this trap. Let's look at method number one, the Avalanche method. The rule here is super simple. You pay the minimums on absolutely everything to keep the banks happy and protect your credit score, but then you take every single extra dollar you have and you throw it like a spear at whichever debt has the absolute highest interest rate. Usually that's a credit card. Let me be very clear about this. Mathematically speaking, this strategy saves you the most money, full stop. It attacks the debt that's growing the fastest.
Now let's quickly shift gears to method 2, the Snowball method. Again, you pay the minimums on everything, but this time you take your extra money and attack the smallest balance first, completely ignoring the interest rates. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, mathematically that's way worse. And you know what? You're right. It saves less money on paper. But here's the fascinating part. Behavioral research, including some really widely cited studies from places like the Kellogg School and Harvard Business Review, shows that human beings are, well, we're emotional creatures. Knocking out that tiny balance gives you a quick psychological win. It builds massive momentum that actually helps people stick with the plan much longer than the quote-unquote smarter mathematical method.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate clash of financial philosophies. On one side, we have the Avalanche method, cold, hard math. It saves you the absolute most money by targeting those toxic interest rates. On the exact opposite side, the Snowball method, pure behavioral psychology. It builds the most momentum by giving your brain the dopamine hits it desperately needs to keep fighting. It's literally logic versus emotion. But we can't just leave it at theory, right? We need to know what happens when you choose feelings and momentum over pure, unadulterated mathematics. Let's look at a real scenario using some standard calculator numbers. If you've got a few different debts, some big, some small, some with crazy high interest, some with low interest, what does it literally cost you in real dollars to choose the Snowball method over the Avalanche method? Boom, look at that number, $4,500. I mean, that is an incredible gap. I'm genuinely surprised every single time I run these numbers through an online debt calculator. Depending on your exact balances and your specific interest rates, choosing the strategy that feels better could literally cost you thousands of dollars in extra interest payments over the life of your debt. That's real money. Money that could have been in your pocket, invested in your future, or, used for vacation. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how stark the visual reality of that choice is. The Avalanche method clearly keeps your total interest way lower. But that massive spike for the Snowball method, that represents the extra months or even years you spend feeding the bank just because you wanted to pay off the smaller, less toxic debts first. It is a massive slap of financial reality. So, the absolutely crucial point here is which one is actually right for you. Well, it comes down to a really simple 3-step process. Step 1, rigidly evaluate your own discipline. Step 2, pick your method based on that absolute truth. And step 3, run to the finish line. Honestly, if you're strictly money motivated and you know for an absolute fact you'll stick to a spreadsheet, pick the Avalanche. It saves you more money. But if you've tried and failed to stick with a debt plan before, and you know you desperately need to see quick progress to stay motivated, choose the Snowball. The best method is the one you'll actually follow through on, not the one that just looks the smartest on a whiteboard. Both routes lead to the exact same debt-free finish line. Now, we do need a really quick note on nuance here, because not all debt is created equal. There is a massive difference between a 22% credit card and a low-interest student loan or mortgage. The extreme urgency we're talking about today applies heavily to high-interest, quote-unquote, bad debt. You do not need to panic and throw every single penny you own at a 4% mortgage in the exact same way you'd attack a toxic 22% credit card balance. You have to understand the weight of the debt you're fighting. Which brings us perfectly to a massive myth we really need to bust right now. You're going to hear people say with absolute unwavering certainty that you must fully pay off all of your debt before you even think about investing a single dollar. Full stop, zero exceptions. They treat personal finance like it's a strictly sequential game. Step 1, then step 2, and they never ever overlap. But here's the reality. If you remember from our previous explainers, specifically the ones regarding employer 401k matches, leaving free money on the table is almost always a terrible idea. A lot of top financial educators will tell you to grab that guaranteed free employer match even while you're aggressively paying down high-interest debt. Turning down a 100% guaranteed return from your boss just to put a tiny bit extra toward a 22% credit card, it often makes zero mathematical sense. Sometimes your financial journey isn't sequential, it's parallel. You can walk and chew gum at the exact same time. So we've broken down the trap, we've looked at the very real cost, and we've totally busted the sequential myth. Now, the choice is sitting squarely in your lap. Look at the balance sheet of your life right now and ask yourself, will you choose the math to save every possible penny, or will you choose the momentum to ensure you actually cross that finish line? Take action today. Pick your path and start swinging at those balances. And hey, make sure you subscribe to keep getting these clear, fast-paced breakdowns of the topics nobody else explains properly. Until next time, what's your very first move gonna be?